the highest-grossing Pokémon games of all time ranked. Since its inception in 1996, the Pokémon franchise has exploded onto the scene in a variety of mediums, including video games, animated shows, and merchandise. Some of the entries in the series have stood out as being particularly successful, both financially and critically, among the many that have been published. In this video, we will take a look at a list of the Pokémon games that have generated the most revenue over the course of the franchise's history, arranged in order, so stay tuned till the end. Pokémon. With its release in November 2021, this version of Generation 4 Pokémon surpassed the sales of Pokémon Yellow in its first 6 months. Despite complaints that it's missing Pokémon Platinum's extras, many fans are relieved to see the remakes finally released, and positive about how they turned out. Ramana's Park and other new locations were added to keep the game true to the magical and legendary spirit of Pokémon. However, even though players need to acquire the national dex to get it, the Grand Underground made it simple to catch Pokémon from generations prior to Gen 4. Since the game didn't come out until 2021, it has a good chance of selling even more than the 14.79 million units it has already moved. Pokémon Black and White. Black and White, two new Pokémon games for the Nintendo DS, came out in 2010. Generation 5's games take place in Unova, a region that looks very like New York City, right down to the modern bridges and skyscrapers. The player's goal in Pokémon Black and White is the same as it was in previous Pokémon games: defeat the region's champion after collecting 8 gym badges, take on and defeat the Elite Four in the Pokémon League, and claiming the title of Pokémon Grandmaster. To date, Pokémon Black and White has sold 15.64 million copies, despite persistent piracy. Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, released in 2002, introduced players to the third generation of Pokémon, commonly known as the Advanced Generation. Oh, and is the setting for this collection's games. And not every Pokémon from earlier generations is included. The Game Boy Advanced version of Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire sold 16.22 million copies, making it the best-selling video game in that system's history. This number is lower than the sales of the previous 2 Pokémon games. Pokémon Sun and Moon. Pokémon Sun and Moon, released in 2016 for the Nintendo 3DS to mark the franchise's 20th anniversary, introduced a new style with their setting in Alola, a series of islands that resemble traditional Hawaii. This version added 81 playable Pokémon, all of which could be captured using the game's new Z moves. To date, 16.27 million copies of Pokémon Sun and Moon have been sold around the world. Pokémon X and Y. The Pokémon X and Y games were released in 2013 and were the first Pokémon games on the Nintendo 3DS. The 3D polygonal graphics of the Pokémon in these games were widely praised by fans. In addition to the 72 new Pokémon introduced in X and Y, there were 30 Mega Evolutions for previously fully evolved Pokémon. This game sold 16.58 million copies worldwide and was named Best Handled Game of the Year by the Golden Joystick Awards. Pokémon Diamond and Pearl. The 5th best-selling Pokémon game of all time, this Nintendo DS installment was released in 2006. The Pokémon Diamond and Pearl video games are similar to previous Pokémon titles in terms of gameplay, although taking place in the new region of Sinnoh, and feature a new player who seeks to become the Pokémon League champion. Multiplayer support, which lets you do combat with other people, is a new addition. G4's Best Handheld Game Award in 2000 went to Pokémon Diamond and Pearl, which had sold 17.67 million units. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet to show your support. Now let's continue. Pokémon Gold and Silver. The release of Pokémon Gold and Silver marked the start of the second generation of Pokémon. As the first generation was so popular, it's no surprise that people bought so many copies of the sequels to catch the newest Pokémon. About 24 million units were sold of this game. This game revived the spark of adventure that Red and Blue once created and sent players on a fantastic journey. Impressively, Game Freak fused Kanto and Johto into one vast region for players to explore. A lot of devotees have been wanting this to come back for a long time. Pokémon Red, Green, and Blue. When Satoshi Tajiri was a kid, one of his favorite things to do was collect insects. As he got older, he started to have dreams of a world in which players could collect, train, and fight with their miniature creatures. He began working on making his dream a reality as soon as he could after he started having these dreams. As a direct consequence of this, he came up with the original 151 Pokémon, as well as Pokémon Red, Green, and Blue. These have sold around 32 million units. Well, that's all for today's video. Tell us in the comments section how this video was. I hope that you found this one interesting. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing for more. And don't forget to give comments and provide us with your valuable feedback. We'll see you in the next video with some more interesting facts and stories. And until then, stay tuned.